Hi everyone, welcome to Slot 2 analysis of CAT 2021. I'm Amit Panchmatia from IMS. Okay, let's start talking a little bit about the Slot 2. What was this? How the Slot 2 was? You all can keep asking your questions. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can. So I'll just try and do that also. So total number of questions was very similar to Slot 1. So not getting into too much detail over there. Okay, what was the number of questions and all that? That is there on the screen. You all can have a look at it. We have put down a good number of attempts also, right? So I know I was reading the comments earlier and said some of you all said Quant was difficult, DILR was difficult. I'll be talking about each section individually, at least definitely more about Quant and DILR, which are my two sections, and I'll talk about them in detail. Everything else remained same. The pattern, everything else remained more or less same, standard. Let's go ahead. Okay. So initial estimate in terms of percentile, what do we expect? What are the kind of scores we are looking at, and so on, so on. So let's start with the 99 percentile. You know, the 99 percentile, we're looking at a VARC score of 39. 39 would mean either 13 attempts all correct or say 16, 17 attempts with a few errors. That should be a good thing. DILR 29. Now DILR 29 definitely cannot be was possible because I thought two sets were very, very doable. We'll come back to that. And QA 37. Some of you all found QA a little bit more tricky than it was because again, you know, the trick was to avoid the slightly difficult questions. Once you learn to avoid those difficult questions, this slot would have been pretty straightforward, is what I thought. There were enough easy questions to solve. Just understand, you know, if before the test you plan and go say, I want to attempt 15 questions only. Do you think there were 15 questions easily attemptable? I think they were definitely possible to solve 15 questions, right? So you can take a screenshot of this screen if you want, and we can go ahead. Because I might come back at the end towards it, but let's first just go ahead with this question. Now, so slot 2 overall level of difficulty will be medium, not easy, definitely. QA and VRC more difficult compared to slot 1. QA a little bit more difficult because of few tricky questions, few lengthy questions, and hence students might have and one wrong question. Yes, I don't know whether you all are aware, but the partnership question, according to me at least, and a few of my colleagues, was wrong because I thought that they asked for something else which was not possible to solve. Good overall attempts. This is overall 38 to 42 questions with high accuracy. Several SIMCATs are similar to CAT in structure and LOD. Definitely. If you go back and look at the SIMCATs, and if I go and look at each and every question of CAT, I would say out of the 22 questions in Quant, nearly 15 to 17 questions are very, very similar to SIMCAT questions. Okay. Let's go ahead. Okay. Now, let's first talk about verbal. So verbal, there are 4 RCs, all 4 RCs with 4 questions each. So that was one change maybe from the SIMCATs. All 4 RCs were 4 questions each, so 16 questions of RCs. The first RC, again, this was at least in my paper, the first RC was on nationalism and colonialism, which I thought, and even all the verbal faculties at our center thought, that was a difficult one, and hence that was an RC maybe you could have left alone. Decline of languages, multilingual languages, wala RC, I thought was very, very easy. Somebody like me also could crack that RC, so very easy. Knowledge and skepticism, that is knowledge, whether you have knowledge, does it lead to skepticism and all that? Can knowledge be got? Can it be attained, or do you get it by birth, and so on and so on? I would say rate it as moderate to difficult, maybe not very difficult. And relation between truth and power was a medium RC. So one easy, one medium, or maybe even 2 medium, and 1 difficult, or somebody could consider even the RC3 as difficult. So that was the breakup of RC. Out of the 8 VA questions, that is, we had 4 parajumble questions, 3 parajumble questions, all 3 theta, and overall level of difficulties for VA was medium. I would say VA was not very easy. I could not find even a single question which was straightforward in VA that you could have attempted. Good number of attempts of 15 to 16 with high level of accuracy would have been good enough to reach easily a 99 percentile. Right, let's go ahead with the next thing, moving to DILR section. Now the DILR section, the major difference between slot 1 and slot 2 was in slot 1, there was one 6 question set, which was very easy. While in slot 2, I would say both the sets which were easy were the ones, okay, there's a small error in the PPT. You'll have to be careful with that. According to me, both the sets with DILR with 4 questions were easy, The delivery boy set was a medium set. It was not easy. That's an error in the PPT. You can just, that's error from our side. And the most difficult was distributing the 10 objects among 5 threads. So one was what the bar graph set. Now the bar graph set was actually very, very, very simple. Even though some of you all might have taken a little bit more time to interpret the bar graph. What was the bar graph trying to say? And if you had read the last paragraph very carefully, that even explained that part to you, what was the bar graph saying? Okay, so if I read the set very carefully, I thought this set was very simple and maximum 8 to 9 minutes to solve the whole set, not more than that. 2 questions were directly on, calculation based and so on. I mean, all the 4 questions were calculation based, but I think we had what 2 MCQ and 2 theta questions over here. The tournament set was a slightly tricky one, but nicely framed. I thought it was an excellent set where you had to form the 3 groups, A, B, C, 4 groups, A, B, C, D, and then group matches and the semi-finals and finals. There was a good data given. If you'd understood how to solve that, I thought it was an easy set. The rating set was a medium set. There was some ambiguity in terms of maybe there were a couple of cases being formed, especially with the last parameter. Could it be 9444 or 6555? And that was some ambiguity, and maybe hence one question you might have lost because of that. And the most difficult set was distribution of 10 objects among the 5 threads. So if you have 2 easy sets, which are both only 4 questions, and 1 medium set with 6, I would think that was the 3 sets you had to attempt in the test. If you're able to attempt those 3 sets in the test, I think you should have done well. Right? Let's talk about QA now. So again, overall attempts, you're saying about 10 to 12 with high accuracy. 2 sets, as I said, could have definitely got all right, 8 questions. And the third set, maybe a couple of questions here and there could have gone wrong. So I think attempting, even though we are saying 10 to 12, even attempting 14 questions was not very difficult in 40 minutes. If you had figured out that the distribution set was the difficult set, if you had figured that out, then getting 3 sets was very, very straightforward, according to me. Okay, now I'm going to just, before I go to the quant section, I'm going to try and read some questions. So if people have put down some questions, we'll try and read them. Okay, we're not going to talk about answers and all that, so we'll come to that later. Okay, not too many questions right now, as of now. So we'll move on and we see if we get more questions, we'll try and answer the questions. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's talk about quant. 22 questions, which was, I would say, 1 or 2 questions less. The discussion is being that if a student was very, very well prepared, he could have attempted all 22 questions. Well, they were not easy. I'm not saying all were easy. There were definitely some difficult questions. This is the breakup of section-wise: 9 arithmetic, 5 algebra, 3 geometry, 3 modern maths, and 2 numbers. Numbers, very, very surprisingly from last year, has fallen down drastically. Last year, the number of questions on numbers were higher. This year, that number has gone down, and we have only 2 questions on numbers. Arithmetic, as usual, the number of questions are very high. 9 questions out of 22 is what? Maybe a good 40%, right? So 13 to 14 attempts with high accuracy should have got you to the 99 percentile part. Okay, we will have a look at this table again as we discussed again. And now, if I'm talking about arithmetic and so arithmetic, I found that most of the questions were doable, either category A or B. I would not say even a single question from arithmetic was category C. Coming to algebra and all, one second. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll just go back to this part. So arithmetic, I thought all the questions were either A or B. Geometry, 2 questions were very, very, very straightforward. The rhombus question was definitely a difficult one. Should have left that alone. 2 trapezium and the triangle question were very straightforward. Rhombus question difficult. Modern maths, PNC was a little bit difficult. Sequence and series was a little bit tricky. Algebra, a couple of questions on functions. 1 question on function was difficult. The range question. There was a modulus question, which I would have put it as category B. So what we have said is we are talking about roughly, if I look at this whole thing, I had 9 to 10 questions, which were A's, around 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 questions, which were C's, and the remaining B's. And that is where, this test, I would say the level of difficulty or slot 2 was for quant also. So again, we have put down the overall difficulty chart. And again, as I said, I'll try and take some questions if we have some questions. Just give me a second. I will try and load the chats and have a look at the questions. Some questions which y'all are asking and y'all can ask. So people are asking, compared to slot 1, what was slot 2? So we compared slot 1 and slot 2. I would say QA and VRC was slightly more difficult. Even DILR slightly difficult. Otherwise, I thought that it was fine. Okay. So that was slot 1, slot 2. Comparison. Okay. When will expected percentile come? Expected percentiles in the next 1 or 2 days, we'll have details. Estimates for slot 1, we've already done that. You can see the video. No sound now. I think you have the sound. You can have a look at it. Okay. Quick answer. Can you all hear me now? Because there were a couple of things of no audio, but that we know. How is a 49 attempt for first attempts? First 49 number of attempts are pretty decent, I would say, not a problem. VRC was extremely tough. Somebody says it was not extremely tough. 2 RCs were definitely doable. By when will the question papers be released? Normally they release it within 1 week. So you can expect this next week. You can expect that. Do we get scaled scores and percentile or separately depending on slot? You will get your score and percentile. Great. So people can hear me now. That's great. Any more questions? I'm waiting for questions. Yeah, that's what I said. 2 RCs according to me were definitely doable. 1 medium, 1 difficult. So that is called a medium level VA paper. It's not a very difficult level VA paper. Right? I think no more questions. Then we can move ahead and that's it. Best of luck for the ones who are in slot 3 or best of luck for the other test now. If CAT is, remember one thing, CAT is done, dusted. Analyze the paper, go through it. Lovely, no problem. But you're done and dusted with CAT. Move on to the other exams, start preparing for them. Best of luck for that.